today. This is part of our career conversations series, and this is something that really was spawned out of necessity. Is an awesome opportunity and something we plan on growing. So we definitely recognize throughout the university, through undergraduate, I'm on the alumni side, and through our graduate students, that everything's a whole lot of different. And even if I was just talking to Erin beforehand, even if your work is normal, the people you work with, it won't be. So there's a lot of change right now. And this is a great opportunity to say, let's bring in these employer partners that we that have been supportive of student and alumni who can say, here's what it looks like on our end. So today, Erin Medeiros is going to represent education industry. She is a regional manager at ESS. And what we're going to do as far as formatting, Erin, like all good educators, has prepared some slides and has a flow. There are just kind of some background to give you a good base, and then two really great deeper conversations around preparing yourself, what you can do right now, and about interviewing. And at any point, there is a chat feature that anyone can use. It's a little chat bubble. You can put a comment in there. If you're on your phone, you can use that, or you can use Q&A. I'll be able to read the questions. And then when we get to the parts that are a little bit more in depth, I'll also tell people when I unmute you, and you can speak a question, and you can choose to mute yourself back or not. So, Erin, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So my name is Erin Medeiros. I am the regional manager with a company called ESS, which is Education Solution Services. We have locations all over the country, Connecticut, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, all over the place, but I manage specifically Rhode Island. Even though, everybody here knows that currently Rhode Island K-12 schools are all closed at the moment, but that actually doesn't mean that we're not recruiting. Our company is still recruiting. We actually still have substitutes working in a virtual capacity. We have some long-term staff, not a whole lot. We have a handful of them, but they are out there working. And we also help manage these summer programs for some of our districts. So I want to talk about that too. So with that said, I guess we'll jump right into it. I'm going to give you a little bit more background about our company, what we do, our hiring process, and then like Audra said, I'm going to just go over some helpful job search tips, things like that, feedback that we give to our applicants when they're out there looking for permanent work. Substitute teaching is kind of an interim position. Nobody's really looking to substitute on a long-term basis. We are always helping our applicants secure that permanent position as well. So jumping right in. So a little bit about us, ESS. Again, ESS is just an abbreviation for Education Solution Services. So we are a private education staffing firm. We started in the year 2000 in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. That's where our corporate headquarters is. But again, we have locations all over the country, specifically here in Rhode Island. I manage this account, and we actually have 3 school districts that we have partnerships with. So what we do is we partner up with school districts, and we run their substitute teaching program for the district. So essentially, the district has outsourced that piece to us. And the 3 specific districts that we currently have contracts with right now are Johnston, Lincoln, and North Kingstown for both daily and long-term substitute teacher assignments. We also do substitute teacher assistant assignments, but I know everybody here today is more so interested in substitute teaching, which is totally fine. We do have a sales team. They're actively talking to other districts. So you never know, come September, we might have even more districts to add to that list. So what we do as a company is we source. So basically we take over the substitute teaching programs for these 3 districts. We handle everything from soup to nuts. We handle the sourcing, the recruiting, pre-screening all the applicants, all the vetting, collecting all the hiring forms, training, payroll, all of that goes through our company. So essentially, once you're hired with us, you'll be our employee, but placed in the school districts of your choice. So some of our substitute applicants sign up for all 3 districts. Some of them only sign up for a couple, North Kingstown or Lincoln. Certainly whatever works best for you, that's more convenient for you, that's totally fine. But that's kind of how that works and a little bit about our company. So this slide here goes over the minimum requirements to be a substitute teacher with ESS, with our company. So basically the minimum requirement is a bachelor degree. It can be in any subject. It's not limited to education, although having an education background will certainly work to your advantage, especially if you're looking to break into the education industry. You're a new grad, you're a career changer, what have you. Having that education background, that teaching cert will work to your advantage. So we will need your bachelor degree and proof of your bachelor degree to essentially hire you. So that can be your transcripts, your diploma, and we will need a copy of your teaching certificate, non-expired, that is. So let's say you want to work as just a daily substitute teacher. Again, you can have your bachelor degree in just, in anything, in just a general, background in communications or liberal arts or what have you. You don't necessarily need that education background. Let's say you want to work a long-term assignment. So that's a little bit different. You do need that education background. You need that teaching cert, that RIDE teaching cert. So, and again, we do recruit for both daily and long-term substitute teachers. So that's the minimum requirements for daily and long-term subbing with us. So this slide here goes over some of the advantages that we offer when you're an ESS substitute teacher. Probably the most important one is exposure to school districts for networking. I can't tell you how many times our partnered school districts hire from our sub pool. So as fast as we're hiring substitutes, the districts are hiring those substitutes from us for permanent jobs, which is great. It's a win-win for everybody. Again, like I said in the beginning, we know that you're not subbing for the long haul. You're just doing it to get your foot in the door, or maybe you're just doing it for interim work to supplement income or what have you. We don't have a lot of long-term subs for that reason. And certainly substitute teaching is a great way for you to get your foot in the door. We kind of sell it to our applicants as a working interview, right? So every time you're in the classroom, eyes are on you. So especially if you're looking to break into the industry, having those relationships with principals and teachers and HR personnel, superintendents, that's going to work to your advantage when it comes to securing a long-term assignment or securing a permanent job. Principals, superintendents, they're much more likely to hire somebody they already know, they already trust. You already know that school community. And as you know, Rhode Island is a really small state. School communities in general are really small and tight-knit. So, by building those relationships, that's how you're going to get that perm job. So that's a big one, really. Secondly, is we offer a very user-friendly online scheduling system. It's called ASAP. And maybe some of you have already heard of ASAP. It's an absence management system that basically every single school district in Rhode Island uses for their teachers to call out. So let's say a teacher calls out, has a doctor appointment, calls out sick, they'll enter the absence into ASAP. Then it'll go out to our subs, our general pool of subs, see if anybody wants to pick that up for sub work. So that's kind of how that goes. It's super user-friendly, easy to use. You can select assignments on your computer, on your cell phone, very, very simple and easy to use. And lastly, we offer a really flexible schedule. As a daily substitute teacher, you can pick and choose the days you want to work, the days you don't want to work. You set your schedule. Of course, if you're a long-term sub, you'd be going to that same classroom every single day. But if you're a daily substitute teacher, you can set your schedule. We have daily subs that work a couple days a week, a couple days a month. So you're able to have complete control over your schedule. Let's say you have a second job, or you're going to grad school part-time and you can't work 5 days a week. So it's a very flexible job for those people in those types of situations. So this slide here kind of goes over our typical hiring and application process. It has changed a bit because of the COVID-19, but this is typically how it works. So the first step is to complete our online application at ess.com. Some of you probably already have a SchoolSpring account, and that's great, but we actually don't have access to that. So you would have to apply to our applicant tracking system, which is ess.com. Once you do that, you'll be notified by somebody through phone or through email, kind of just get a little bit more information about you. What are you looking for? Talk about your resume. What is your experience level? Things like that. If we think it's a good fit mutually, what we'll then do is send you all the hiring forms, which is the national background check, the TB test, proof of your education, your resume, your teaching cert, and then just normal new hire paperwork that you fill out at any other job, such as your I-9, submit forms of your ID, direct deposit forms, stuff like that. And we typically do that in person. Although because of COVID, things have changed. Nobody's really able to get us their national or their TB test, excuse me, at this point. So things have been a little bit different. Lastly is to attend an in-person pre-employment training class. And again, this is typically in person. I'm there, I do a whole orientation, an hour-long orientation, go over policies, procedures, things like that. Then I hand it over to our trainer, who's a retired principal, and he or she goes over classroom management, things like that. And again, because of COVID, this has been something we've had to change into a virtual pre-employment training class, just like our phone calls and or excuse me, our interviews have been more so phone interviews and Zoom interviews. We actually have a group Zoom interview coming up in next week. So we're trying that out. So things have been a little bit different. But, we do encourage you to go through the process if you want to, get as many forms done as you can, just so that when schools do open up, or let's say there is an assignment for you, a long-term assignment that you're able to do, we can get you hired and move forward. If you have a current national background check that's been done from a previous school district and it's within the past year, we can actually use it for this job. So just a little piece of information there. So, okay, so this slide here goes over just some helpful tips of how to set yourself apart and shine during group interviews and phone interviews, just because it's a little bit different. This is the feedback that we give to our applicants when they're interviewing with not only us, but principals for long-term assignments or perm assignments. So the first thing is to test your technology. So, and this is something I had to do today because I've never used WebEx before. I use Zoom for everything. So I had to test it out, download it, see how to work it, things like that. So that's what you want to do ahead of time. Make sure you're familiar with how the system works. Make sure you know how to mute yourself so you're not, the employer can't hear your dog barking or whatnot. So it's just an important thing to do there, so you're prepared. Secondly is to minimize distractions. So you want to shut off your cell phone, mute your, TV if it's in the background, make sure there's, the dogs outside or what have you, make sure your background's neat, which I actually had to do myself, just tidy up a little bit because you don't want to be showcasing a messy room or, a really loud environment, because it can be distracting to other applicants or the employer. You want to be prepared to take notes and to answer questions. And this is a big one. So even today myself, I have my notepad here to take notes and to have some bullet points just to keep myself on track. You want to do the same when you're in a group interview, a virtual group interview, or a one-on-one virtual interview or phone interview even. Maybe the employer is saying something that sparked a question in your mind. You want to write that down so you're not interrupting. And then afterwards, when questions are being asked, you can refer back to that question. Or maybe you have some bullet points that you want to be sure to remember. Write it down so you don't get distracted with all the information you're getting. Our group interviews, we ask questions and we like specific examples. So write down a couple of examples so you don't forget. So for example, why would you be a great substitute teacher, and tell us why? That's a popular question we ask in our group interviews at least. And our team, we like to hear specific examples. So just a piece of information for you to take on with you for future job interviews. Monitor your body language, also important. You want to make sure you look engaged, you're sitting up straight, you're actively listening, you're trying to make eye contact when you can. It just shows the employer that you're serious about this. You're out there, you're motivated to work. You don't really want to be, relaxed, sit back and whatnot, because it's just not a good look. So just something to keep in mind. And lastly, you want to dress the part. Everybody here, we're working from home. We're dressed a little bit more, casual, lots of loungewear. I know myself, I'm wearing yoga pants pretty much every day, chasing my little one around the house. And that's great, and that's fine. But when I have a virtual conference call or a virtual interview session or whatnot, I need to make sure that I look the part. Same to you. Not to say you have to wear a business suit, but certainly, wearing something, a little blazer, pop a blazer on over a blouse or whatnot, it makes you look more professional, and it's just a great impression that you want to, have on the employer. So it's a great way to do that, is to look professional, look the part. You wouldn't wear leggings and a sweatshirt to an in-person interview, so why would you at a virtual interview? And then be yourself. Be yourself. You want to be the most authentic version of yourself. And certainly, we're always looking for people that genuinely love working with students, genuinely love education. So be that authentic version of yourself, and it will translate in the interview.
So Erin, let's sit here for a second, because this is an incredible topic. had a great question that just popped up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to unmute everybody for a second. I just unmuted everyone, so warning, you've been unmuted. You can mute yourself back, that's fine, as you like. So if you have a question and you want to speak it out now, please do. And then I'll read the question I got because I think it was really. All right, let me read the question I got. There was a great question about group interviewing. And actually now I have two great questions, but first one, group interviewing, and it's a two-part question. The first one is, are group interviews typical, and how do I stand out in a group interview?
So yeah, for us, they are typical. We tend to use that format a lot just because we have so many applicants looking to substitute teach. It's a time saver, and it's great to, it's a great format for us. It works for our company, for the recruiting process at least. And it's great for all the substitutes to get to know each other and be collaborative and kind of share ideas about classroom management, things like that once we get to the training section. And basically how you want to stand out is kind of just, I would say, have specific examples. At least that's what we're looking for, specific examples of why you would be such a great fit to be a substitute teacher, talk about your student teaching, talk about, or also, you really want that passion to shine through. This is my dream job. I'm going to school because I want to be a great, teacher and educator, and this is how I want to build my skill set. Be excited, be positive. That's something that we always look for. Have confidence. Certainly sometimes it's hard to gain that confidence. You got to fake it till you make it, right? But hey, you want to present with confidence because it'll translate, and that's something that employers look for. You want to be confident, you want to be positive, passionate. Those are things we look for. At least at ESS, that's what we look for.
I want to repeat what Erin said because this is something that I think people aren't sure how to present themselves, and you feel like there's one right answer. But what Erin just said, and what I've heard recently from some other employers in these conversations, is that sense of, we actually want to get to know you. And there's a line. I don't want to know all of your personal background, but I want to know about you as a professional and your personality as a professional to make sure it's a good fit, so that there is a genuine piece. And I have two questions I want to get to from participants, but I'm going to ask you, Erin, while I have you on the spot, to say, what is that line, like in being genuine, what's the line between personal and professional? What's too much, and what do you really actually want to know about me as a candidate?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I mean, we love specific examples, but there is a line, typically what we like to hear is somebody, their story of why they got into education without getting too personal, certainly we don't need to hear about, I don't know, like, maybe things that have happened in your family or what have you, there is a line there. But it could just be, ever since I was younger, I used to play school when I was little, and then I knew that I had this passion for education, all throughout my, high school and middle school, elementary school. I always used to, volunteer or things like that, like little fun facts about yourself that are cute. We like hearing stuff like that. But you don't want to say anything too negative or maybe too borderline uncomfortable for people to hear. So I would keep it personal, but not too detailed, and definitely nothing negative. You don't want to ever say anything negative. You want to kind of put a positive spin on pretty much everything.
So I have another question about nervousness. How I'm very nervous in an interview. How do I navigate that? Say it? Do I not say it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea just to say, I'm a little bit nervous, so just bear with me. It's okay, just address it. You will feel better yourself if you just kind of say it out loud. And it's not something that is something we would say, oh, we're not going to hire this person because they said they were nervous. I mean, that's natural. Everybody's nervous in the beginning. Even when we're doing group interviews, in-person interviews, sometimes I have a group of 20 people and everybody's a little bit nervous. So what we typically do is do a quick little icebreaker to break the nerves a little bit. So it's totally fine. So I think it's okay to address it. And honestly, it's really just practice. If you have an interview coming up, maybe, with somebody in your household, your family member, a friend, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, maybe just go over some practice questions. That's always good, and just honestly go on a lot of interviews. And I actually have something about that in the next slide. The more interviews you go on, the better. Even if you totally bomb an interview, you think you did horrible. Okay, well, you know what? You learned what to do, what not to do, and now you can take on those skills to future interviews. It's practice makes perfect, really.
I have one last question here. And the question is about how am I being evaluated? Really wanting to know kind of what's the behind the scenes. And I'm going to add on to this question because this is a really great question, but I think you have an interesting perspective of you're doing these group interviews. So how's your process behind the scenes? And also, have you heard about any other education, any other schools and how they do it? In how are they evaluating that candidate after the interview? What does that conversation look like?
So because we're a staffing firm, we do the group interviews, like I said, just because it goes with our recruiting format. We're essentially trying to get as many substitute teachers on board because we have so many spots open. When schools are open, we have so many opportunities. I mean, if you wanted to work every single day as a daily sub, you could. So that's just the format that we use because it works best for us. And again, what we're looking for is just somebody who's going to be super flexible, super positive, somebody who can work with not so much instruction. They kind of they're proactive in terms of classroom management and things like that. So our company is more so looking at the soft skills. Certainly classroom management is super important. We're going to actually go over that piece in a training. We retrain everybody on classroom management just to make sure everybody's on the same page with classroom management, but that's kind of where we bow out. Once the substitute is hired and they're actually in the classroom, a lot of times, let's say somebody wants to, we have a school that is looking for a sub, a long-term sub, or they have a perm position open, they'll be evaluating you as you're subbing. And if you're somebody that they are interested in, they will then contact us and say, hey, I want to interview so-and-so. And then they'll be looking for, specific, qualities for their specific position that's open. But mostly what we're looking for is just somebody that's going to be able to represent themselves in a positive way, represent ESS in a positive way, be super flexible, follow policies, follow procedure, things like that. That's what we're looking for. So we're kind of the in-between. The school districts are essentially our clients. So we're kind of helping them find the right pool for their positions. So if it's more of a perm position or long-term, they're going to be the ones evaluating you on their end. And that's going to be more skill-based, education skill-based, where we're more soft skills. I guess that's the best way to put it.
I have one more last question, which is, who is in the group interview?
So it's myself. I'm the regional manager. So I'm there. I do like an hour-long orientation. I go over all of our policies, all of our procedures, kind of something similar to what we're doing now, but more based on what they can expect once they get hired, our process of finding job assignments, our process in if there's any issues, HR issues, things like that. The long-term process, because I also do a ton of recruiting, both daily and long-term. So I talk about, how to be selected for a long-term assignment, things like that. Then I hand it over to our group trainer. He or she is usually a retired principal. And then, like I said, they handle the training aspect of it. And we go over, what to do in an emergency, what to do. Let's say you show up and there's absolutely no lesson plan. What do I do? So we have some sample lesson plans to go over. Every single teacher should have a lesson plan for the sub. That's kind of like standard procedure. But what if, that teacher forgot and didn't leave a lesson plan? What do you do then? A lot of role playing. So let's say I have, a classroom that's completely out of control? How do I manage that classroom? So it's really interactive, it's really collaborative. It's a great session. I mean, we get so much good feedback from it. And then we have an applicant tracking, an applicant specialist person there who handles collecting the paperwork. So she'll be the one collecting your background check, your TB. She'll take a look at your forms of ID for your I-9, things like that. So typically there's 3 of us there.
So that is a great question too. I think there's 2 parts. Like sometimes when we say group interview, we mean there's a group of candidates in the room. And sometimes we mean you're having like a panel interview where you are one person and there are 4 or 5 people, or 3 to 5 people interviewing you.
Okay,
So
yeah.
You really have both.
So yeah, it's mostly just the 3 of us. I'll ask some questions, some pretty general questions, and then our group trainer, who has that great education background more than I do. My background is more, recruiting and operations and whatnot. He or she gets down into the real like skill-based questions in terms of classroom management. It's pretty much based mostly on classroom management, to be honest with you.
Great. Thank you, Erin.
So again, just kind of some information for you, just to let you know what we are looking for, our team, our recruiting team. This is what we look for in substitute teachers. And I kind of touched on this a little bit in some of the questions that were asked. So it might be a little bit repetitive, but I won't spend too much time on it. But it's important because these are qualities that, yes, we're looking for, but they're also qualities really in any position that you want to be successful at, you really need to have. The first one being flexibility. Again, this is super, super important for us. I mean, I can't tell you how many times a substitute applicant gets hired, they get on ASAP, they select, let's say they see a 4th grade position open, they select it, yes, I want to take it, but then they show up to the school and they're pulled, the principal is going crazy, everybody's going crazy, a teacher called it last minute, and now you're getting pulled to a 2nd grade classroom. That happens all the time, so we need somebody that's going to just say, okay, where do you need me? I'm here to help. What can I do for you? Rather than, coming back to us and saying, well, you know what? I really don't want to work there again because I signed up for a 4th grade class and they put me in a 2nd grade class and, I didn't know what to do. And, it happens. This is just what happens. I'm sure many of you know this, being, in student teaching and whatnot. The morning from, let's say 8 to 8:30 is just insanity. Everybody's going crazy. The clerks are going crazy. Everybody's trying to fill spots. So we really need somebody just to come in and say, I'm here to help. Where do you need me? Those are the subs that are going to be super successful, and they're going to be pretty much the ones that, school districts want to hire when perm positions do come up. So it's super important to be super flexible. A positive attitude. Again, that's what we're looking for in the group interview, and that's what we're looking for, when you're out there subbing within the school districts. You want to make that great first impression. And it's contagious. If you set the tone, set the day with a positive attitude, you'll see the students respond to you in a positive way. So it's also, important, a passion for working with students. Again, that's something we like to hear in the group interview. When we're asking you questions about the specific instances or examples, we want to hear that. We want to hear specific instances of you being, passionate in your career, in your field of choice, rather. And again, positivity, passion, that is all so contagious. It sets the tone for the day. Set the tone with a positive vibe and your students will follow suit. Organization, again, a very important skill to have in any job that you want to be successful at, but specifically to be a substitute teacher. We tell all of our substitutes, once you get that assignment, let's say your assignment starts at 8:30, we tell all of our subs to show up 15 minutes ahead of time to get acclimated. Maybe you don't know where the school is. Maybe you have to do a test run the day before to see where it's at. Maybe you need to time it to see, to make sure you're not going to be late. Show up so that you know where the classroom is. Show up early so you can introduce yourself to the teacher, teachers on either side of you. Introduce yourself so that way if you need help, you can go next door and say, hey, where does the teacher typically put XYZ? Get there early so you can go through the folder with all the policies, safety procedures and safety policies and whatnot. That's important so that, when the students show up, you're ready to go. It's just a great way to start your day off. And again, classroom management, that's a big one for us. it's everything that principals look for, superintendents look for when they're looking for permanent people, but also to be a substitute, you want to have that great classroom management. You want to be able to manage academic and behavioral expectations, because without classroom management, it's going to be a really disorganized, tough day for you. And we know it's a challenge for a lot of people. That's why we have the group training and we go over classroom management again, just because we feel with ESS, you can't get enough information about classroom management. Those are the qualities that we're always looking for when we're pre-screening, when we're looking for resumes for both daily and long-term substitute teachers. So again, things are different right now. This whole Corona thing has everybody, everything kind of upside down, especially the education field with schools being closed right now, and who knows what's going to happen this summer. So what you can do now, these are just some tips of what we're telling our current pool of applicants and current subs to do to keep keep their skills and their resume current and whatnot. So the first thing is to organize your portfolio. You want to gather all your transcripts, your certifications, letters of recommendation, lesson plans, stuff like that. You want to have that ready for you so that when you do have an interview, you secure that interview, whether it's a virtual interview or an in-person interview, you're able to showcase it and speak to it. Maybe practice speaking to it. Practice with somebody else, a boyfriend, girlfriend, family member, going through your portfolio and being able to speak to it. Practice makes perfect with that. Take a look at your current resume as well as local job boards. We use SchoolSpring for everything, just like I'm sure everybody, knows about SchoolSpring. Take a look at your resume. How can you customize it? How can you modify it to become more marketable? What jobs do you see out there in high demand? Are there a lot of special ed teachers out there that are needed? Are there a lot of ESOL positions, math teachers, stuff like that? What can you do to be maybe dual certified? What can you do to, maybe you can take some graduate level classes? What can you do in terms of other opportunities, like to make your resume stand out, to make your resume, what can you do to leverage your current education and skill set? Take a look at your resume and see what you can do individually to make it stand out from other resumes, is what I'm trying to say. And like I said, I think I mentioned this a little while ago, going on tons of interviews. Going on lots of interviews is basically the best way to become a great interviewee, I should say. Even if it's not your dream position, even if it's at a school you're not really fond of, it's not your top school, I recommend going on the interview anyway. What's the harm? You'll get great experience that way. Practice makes perfect. So that's what we tell our applicants: practice, practice, practice. And lastly, keep your skills current. This is why our company employs so many grads, is because substitute teaching is the perfect way to keep your skills current. So if you are able to take a long-term assignment right now, let's say you're certified, have your RIDE cert, you are actually able to work virtually. You are, apply for something, even if it's a couple of weeks, get it on your resume, keep those classroom management skills current, and it'll show employers that, you're motivated, you're out there, you're ready to work. So that's our tips that we have for what you can do.
This is another great area that I want to take a pause on.
Okay.
Because I think it is it's a big question. What can I do? And obviously we're in a unique time, but I think this is a common question that I get asked, even if it wasn't under these circumstances. While I'm looking for a job or when I'm preparing to make this transition. So I want to sit here for a minute. I will leave everyone muted, but you can, if you choose to, you can unmute yourself and ask a question, or use the chat or the Q&A feature here. One thing that I want to add on to and ask on the interview thing, on the interview topic, is to make sure everyone is aware, if you are a student, you have a career education specialist that can practice interviewing. If you are a graduate student, you have the director of professional studies, that's Karen Mitnick, you can practice interviewing with. If you are an alum, you have myself, I'm Audra Lavoie, or my counterpart, Karen Romano, and we're able to do that with you. Do you recommend people utilize informational interviews? So if I haven't been asked to interview, how else can I practice my interview skills?
So, I would recommend utilizing your career service resources. That's that's a great resource to have. I actually used to be a director of career services a couple years ago, and I used to do a lot of resume help and practice and giving feedback and whatnot. So, I mean, anybody that you can practice with, and I think it actually is, you know, it's a good resource to have because it's not somebody you know, so they're more likely to be more honest with you, which is what you need. You need that honest feedback to be able to grow from it. So that's what I would recommend. Use you know, utilizing those resources from school. Yeah.
So we have a question about portfolio and
Okay.
what would I present when would I utilize my portfolio? Is this part of an application process or is it something that I would present in an interview setting?
Yeah. So, yep. So you would be presenting your portfolio with an interview with an actual principal or superintendent. So basically, to be a substitute teacher with us, you would not need to bring your portfolio to our group interview. If you are considered for a long-term assignment or a perm position with the district, you would need to bring that portfolio with you, even if it's a long-term substitute teacher assignment. If it's long-term, they want to see your portfolio.
And there's another question about free courses. So if you're a currently enrolled student or a grad student, you have the courses that you might be taking. But if I'm in this transition, would you recommend free online courses like something like Coursera or Udemy as something that could help build my relevance on my resume?
Absolutely. Whatever you can put on your resume to punch it up, to, you know, to really leverage yourself. And you basically want to show employers that even though times are just uncertain right now and things are just kind of funky right now, that doesn't mean you're sitting at home on your butt waiting for jobs to come to you. It basically shows that you're super motivated, super proactive, and you're keeping some sort of skill set active by utilizing it, you know, in whatever way that you decide to do, whether it's taking free classes, whether it's looking for, you know, online opportunities, even if it's, let's say you're volunteering to read to an elementary school virtually on Zoom, put that on your resume. I mean, that is amazing. You know, that's stuff that we love to see. That's stuff that schools love to see, principals love to see, you know, superintendents. So stuff like that. Get creative. Maybe if you don't know, maybe, you know, you don't want to take additional classes or whatnot, or, you know, think outside the box. What can you do specifically with your individual resume? What can you do to make it stand out? What other things can I do virtually right now to put on my resume to show that I'm out there and I'm doing something?
So we have a hand raised from Jacqueline. I'm going to unmute Jacqueline and you can ask your question.
Okay, just 1 second.
I'm not able to hear anything.
No, I had unmuted and then I think there we go. I think she's.
Sorry about that. I guess I had unmuted myself and then muted myself. Sorry about that. With regards to certification, what types of certification are there? Meaning, I had heard that RIDE used to do sort of a temporary certification for individuals who just got their BA, and so they could get this kind of certification. Is that still possible, or does someone have to still go through the protocol of having their BA and then, you know, doing all those extra classes that are required for whatever certification?
Yeah, so I just talked to RIDE actually not too long ago, maybe 4 weeks ago or so, just to ask them about this too. So yeah, so basically right now, if you have a bachelor degree in a general subject area, like, you know, you have a bachelor degree in Spanish or what have you, and you want to get certified, or you know, what have you. But yeah, they do have that new system where all you would need to do is apply online with RIDE and then submit. I think it is $100 fee for the 3-year initial certification. So you actually don't need to take all those additional classes right now.
And which type of certification is this? Is this for teaching or is this for licensed teaching?
For the licensed teaching through RIDE. So to be a substitute teacher, we don't need any. So just to be a daily substitute teacher, you don't need any certification whatsoever. You can have a bachelor degree in political science and that's fine. If you want to be a long-term substitute teacher, then you would need that RIDE certification.
Great.
Follow-up question with that certification. So if I had heard you correctly earlier, you had mentioned that sometimes your organization does provide long-term substitutions. So that would mean that to work with you all long-term, you do need that certification. Am I correct in that understanding?
Yeah, our company, we provide daily and long-term substitutes to the district. We have long-terms all the time, and basically it's just in terms, so we call it a long-term because we consider a long-term assignment any substitute assignment that requires coverage from a RIDE certified teacher for over 30 days consecutively. So typically it's a lot of teachers going on maternity leaves or sick leaves or what have you, and they need a certified person to take their spot. So that's what we would consider a long-term assignment. And in that situation, in order to be in compliance with RIDE, that substitute would need to be certified, a RIDE certification, excuse me. So for example, let's say I'm working on, and I'm working on a third grade special ed virtual substitute teacher for the Johnston School District, which I am. I need to make sure, because it's a maternity leave, so it's over 30 days of consecutive subbing. I need to make sure that the substitute, the long-term substitute that takes that position, is certified in special education, elementary special education, through RIDE to be in compliance with the state.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
So one question that's for me is, do you know of how could I network right now? So if I'm home, are there groups I should reach out to, individuals? What do you recommend for networking?
For networking, I mean, I have been seeing online, actually, there have been other virtual hiring events. I know that Johnson & Wales is having one, which we might be attending, our company. So I would go online, I don't know if students have access to Handshake or not. I know employers do, but Handshake is a really good resource to find all sorts of career events. Typically they'd be in person, but it looks like now a lot of schools are transitioning to the online format. So that's certainly a great way for you to network. Any volunteer opportunities, virtual volunteer opportunities is a great way to network. I know that there's a lot of, I know that with the governor having that reading challenge, there was a couple of different reading nonprofit organizations to maybe link up with. That's a great way to network, and it's even a great resume builder if you're able to offer any type of volunteer work to them. We have actually told that to our sub applicants to kind of check that out. And I would just say, still job search now, even though things are uncertain, it doesn't mean that that districts aren't still hiring. So like I said, there's still opportunities out there for virtual subs. So if you are in a position where you are certified and you do have your bachelor degree and whatnot, I would just go on SchoolSpring and see what's out there. That's a great way for you to get HR emails too. So let's say the Johnston School District is looking for a permanent position, not through ESS. So you see that opportunity in SchoolSpring, you see that to apply, there's the HR's email there. Even if, even though things are virtual right now, send them an email, maybe just send them an email, send your resume, just say, hey, I just graduated, just wanted you to have my resume, on file. Maybe I'll check in a couple months. That way they have your name, circle back to them in a couple months just so they remember you. That's a great way for you to network too, SchoolSpring.
And we do have Handshake, so all students and alumni have access to Handshake, which you can utilize for a search one. Also, to Erin's point before, there are some virtual career fairs that are on it. It's the employers taking the initiative. We at URI aren't hosting one currently, but if you see one anywhere, I would look to it. And I think for Erin's point of practicing interviewing, some of these virtual career fairs are offering on the spot interviews. So even if it's not in your field, if this is a skill you want to practice, it might be an opportunity to connect and practice getting the nerves out of interviewing and know how you're going to say something and kind of summarize your work history, which is usually one of the first questions that people ask.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this topic? This is a great outline. I appreciate this. I think this is stuff that people can pull together. I have one question. When are these education career fairs and how do we learn about them? So for URI, we are not currently hosting a virtual one. We will see what the fall brings. We always host one in the fall that's on tech and engineering. That's a major one that's in person. A lot of stuff that is by college, and every event is open to students, alumni, grad students. So for those are for the in-person. For the other one, there is a system, and I'll email everyone afterwards with a recording of this, but also with the link to Handshake. So Handshake is our URI job board. If you keep up with that and you take a look in there, most recently there was one posted about 2 weeks ago that was a different company. It was actually an environmental group, but they were doing an online virtual career fair. And so that was something that was open to everyone. They had a variety of positions. So it's good exposure, especially while even if it's not your field of interest, to see it, to practice it, to navigate it and test that system, but also keeping on the lookout for what is a really good fit. So Handshake is our system. I'll send it out to everybody. Otherwise, you can do a look online. Eventbrite oftentimes has things hosted from a wide variety. I would pay attention also to EmployRI, so the state's job bank system, and see if they're promoting anything from any companies about virtual career fairs. And then there's another question. Is it okay to find out from now what ESS pays per diem subs versus long-time subs? So is that something that is part of your, well, when we're interviewing, that's what we share, or is that something like every company has a different policy? Is there a standard, or is it, we'll see as the process goes?
Yeah, so I just put it out there. I'm very transparent when it comes to pay, just because, our company works for the district. We have contracts with each company, with each district rather. They actually, when we sign a contract with them, they set the pay rate for us to pay the subs. So it's set by the district, but we're paying the sub. So for Johnston, and I can go through them. For Johnston, excuse me, they pay $100 per day for daily subs. For long-term subs, and again, for long-terms, you need to have that RIDE certification. It's for the 30 days or more. They have a different kind of pay system. So they pay $100 per day for days 1 to 20. Then from 20 to 60, it's $120 per day. And from 61 and beyond, it's $140 per day. Lincoln pays $90 per day for the first 30 days. And this is just for daily subbing. So it doesn't have to be consecutive. You can be subbing, one day here, one day there, one day there. As soon as you get to that 30-day mark, it'll bump you up from 90 to 105 per day. And that's just their flat rate for everything, for daily and long term. For North Kingstown, they pay $80 per day and this is all for substitute teachers, not substitute teacher assistants. They pay $80 per day for the first 30 days. And then again, after subbing here and there, doesn't have to be consecutive. Once you meet that 30-day mark, it bumps up to $90 per day. North Kingstown has a different pay system for long-term assignments. Again, long-term assignments needing that RIDE cert for 30 days or more. So for that, it's $80 per day for the first 30 days. Then on day 31, it bumps up to $125 per day. Also at day 31, you'll get retro pay from days 1 to 30 of the difference of the 125 and the 80. So it's a little bit complex. It's 25 per day. You're just getting $80 of the 125 for the first 30 days. And the reason why the district did this is just to secure somebody into that spot rather than just working for a week or two and then leaving. They wanted to make sure that the person that accepts that long-term assignment is going to stay for at least 31 days.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or?
So this is the end of what Erin has prepared. We've covered a lot of different areas from ESS, the background, and how they look to people, things you can do to prepare today, as well as general interview tips. We've covered a lot, and we've had some great questions. Do we have other questions for Erin while we have her on the line? I'm just seeing a couple thank yous come up.
We also, I just wanted to add really quick, our company, ESS, we actually have a group info session / group interview. So it's kind of a new thing we're trying next week. So if anybody wants to join, please feel free to email me if that's okay, Audra.
Yeah, so let's do this. If you want to email me the link, I'll send it out to everyone, and I'll also send your email address out to everybody, and people can follow up with you directly.
Yeah, that would be great. Feel free to attend if you want to just, there's no pressure with that. Just because you're showing up doesn't mean you even need to move forward if it's not for you or what have you, but it might be a good way for you to kind of see our system, how we recruit, the questions we ask, a little bit more about our company. And again, we have a Q&A too, so you can ask further questions. Or if you want to just ask me a question, individually, you're more than welcome to email me directly.
That would be great. Well, let's close here. Erin and everyone, I know time to me is one of the most valuable resources. So taking your time today, Erin, and all the people who've chosen to participate on the line, it is greatly appreciated. I will follow up with the resources that Erin has shared. And thank you all. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.